Welcome to What's Your Spark podcast with me, Janas. At What's Your Spark, we explore the journeys of people who found their thing. That could be a passion or a business that fuels them, gives their life purpose, and simply brings them joy. I truly believe in the power of storytelling. So let's dive into this episode's story. Hello, Jana. Welcome to What's Your Spark podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Hannah. Such a pleasure to be here with you.
I am super excited for us today and for everyone who is listening, because the moment I met you and I heard your story, I was so impressed. And after we finished our call, I was like, I would love to have her on my podcast. So thank you so much for accepting our invitation.
Oh, my pleasure.
Jana, for those who might not know you, would you mind briefly introducing yourself?
Mm-hmm. My name is Jana Barrett, and I am a fitness and movement coach, and I help women over 40 to embody their feminine power to build strength, mobility, and pain-free movement so they can age with confidence and live their lives to the fullest.
That's such a beautiful mission, and what you do, it's really impressive to me, because I'm in my 30s right now. So I don't think what's going on like in the 40s and 50s, or 60s, right? But even thinking about my mom and how she got into yoga, and I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. And it's actually yoga for 50 plus women. So that's when I started to even realize, the differences. So first of all, I would love to know, how come did you become a movement coach, fitness and movement coach?
Yeah, there's always a bit of a story, isn't it? I had 3 children and I was a mum at home. And by the time my third child was like 18 months old, my body was just so broken. I was in pain all the time. I lost all my strength. I obviously growing 3 humans and birthing 3 humans and looking after them 24/7 was just really hard on my body. And then I put my back out, I think, just like for the 5th time that year. And I thought, this is it. I'm done now. I'm done with this. And I found a personal trainer, and then I started working with her. And I noticed that within 3 months, I was not only stronger physically, but I loved the mental strength that came with physical exercise as well. Like I was a better parent, definitely better wife. I was happier, I was more resilient, I was always in a good mood. And so I realized that there are so many mums and women out there who are in pain, who are putting themselves last, who don't prioritize their health and well-being and physical health. And so I decided to qualify as a personal trainer and help more women and mums just like me to discover the life-changing transformations of exercise.
If you don't mind, how old were you then?
I was probably about in my late 30s. Yeah. So my youngest was born 2011, so like 2013, 14. Yeah, so I would be like not even 40. Yeah. 36, wow. 37.
It's so brave to kind of switch, or kind of start something new, like in your 30s, right? Like just before you hit 40, because we feel like, oh, it's too late. So how come, you were like, okay, no, I'm doing it?
Yeah. I was looking for a change, because I used to be a kindergarten teacher, so early childhood teacher. But that's a really hard profession to do when you've got small children at home. And I wanted something where I set my own hours too, because I still had 3 children at home, and my then husband had an incredibly busy career in the film industry, working incredibly long hours and traveling a lot. So I thought, well, this will be an ideal job. It's clearly a passion for me to help other women. It's kind of living in a gym, because in those days I was more doing weightlifting in the gym. So that's where I was coaching my first lot of clients. And then I thought, I can just set my own hours around the children. It would be ideal, right? I can work, just during the school hours and choose my own hours. So it was kind of a no-brainer, really. And then after a couple of years in the gym, I thought, I don't really want to be lifting weights. It didn't interest me personally. And I kind of thought there was something missing. Like, I still had a lot of tension in the body and I was getting frequently injured. And the gym's a really masculine environment, and a lot of my female clients just didn't really enjoy it. So then I discovered functional training through a colleague of mine. And then in 2017, I traveled to the United States to certify as a tech fit instructor. And then I began my journey into steel mace training and club bells. And now I don't even go to the gym anymore. I haven't touched a barbell or dumbbell in years. And I have completely transitioned from the conventional fitness training to a very niched, unconventional warrior training for women.
That's an amazing story.
Thank you.
Then do you feel like when you started to work with your personal trainer, you say that's when you realized it was also beneficial to yourself? But when was the first time? Do you happen to remember, like you were like, oh, that's the thing I want to do?
Yeah, I think it was probably about kind of 6 months into it. And I was, at that time, just got really deeply into exercise, not just with my personal trainer, but I started researching stuff and, researching different forms of exercise and mobility. And I dabbled, I had been doing yoga for quite some time and I did a bit of running. So I just kind of really went quite deep with research and the health benefits, not just the physical health benefits, but other benefits of exercise, regular exercise. And then 6 months into it, it was actually my personal trainer who said, do you know what? I reckon you'd be really good at being a personal trainer. It was actually her. And she encouraged me. She said, I think you should do the course and just for your own benefit. And I was like, really? And she's like, yeah, because there's just not enough women in midlife coaching other women in midlife, because most women in their 40s and 50s don't want to be coached by a 22-year-old guy who has literally no idea what it's like to live in a female body, and B, they have no idea what it is like to manage life and children and work and aging parents and other commitments that we have to juggle as women. So I think that's why I've never been short of clients, because they think, hey, she's 47. I'm 47 now. And
Which
so
I
they
would never tell. Watching your Instagram stories, like surfing every day, I'm like, oh my God, goals.
Oh, thank you. I don't always feel it, but yeah. So I think other women just know that I can relate. I really I've been through a divorce, I've been through a total kind of breakdown, and I had to kind of really find out again who I was post children and post divorce. And as an entrepreneur now, running my own businesses, I mean, that's an entirely new journey that I'm still learning every single day. It's crazy. So yeah, I'm loving it though.
You touch upon the mindset as well, and I feel like within your area, like, yes, you do specialize in fitness and movement, but as you mentioned, it's all together. So like, especially I feel like for women, it's not only about the movement per se, but also all of those things that are happening in your life with your body. So what would you say it's important in this like midlife, as you describe it, to think of, to consider, even when you are looking for a coach or like some sort of movement that you want to start, or like you're doing, or you feel like maybe I should change something?
Yeah. So I think when women are looking for a coach, especially when they are in their 40s, and this goes for women like you in their 30s, because you probably want women in their 30s probably should start thinking about how they're going to set themselves up for that midlife transition, because by the time you hit mid 40s or late 40s, perimenopause starts coming, and we start losing muscle mass from our 30s. So this is the time to kind of in their 30s and 40s to really start setting up their fitness routine more for longevity rather than for looks. So for decades, women have predominantly been exercising to look a certain way and to lose weight, right? But now we know that exercise is actually an incredible, powerful tool for longevity. How fit and strong you are will really certainly determine how you're going to feel when you are 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 and beyond. So when a woman in her 40s or even earlier is looking for a coach, I would first of all look for a coach. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a woman, but for a coach who is going to actually understand how the female body works and how the female body needs to be trained differently from men. And even I was guilty of that. It wasn't until recently when I found out that women really need to be trained in sync with their hormonal cycle. So, men have a very predictable hormonal cycle, and they really just go on just their kind of daily 24-hour rhythm. Women go on their circadian rhythm as well, but we also have the infraradian rhythm, which is our monthly cycle, where we go through and ask any woman, 4 very distinctly different hormonal phases, right? We go through the follicular phase, the first part of the cycle where we all like, yay, and let's work out and let's exercise and ton of energy. Then we ovulate, and then we go into luteal phase where we just want to eat ice cream and binge Netflix on the couch. And we feel kind of, there's less energy, especially like when you start transitioning through perimenopause, or there are some days where you just can't be bothered to go for your workout. And then obviously there is menstruation where, women experience a certain level of discomfort. Most women are quite tired, and we usually kind of should listen to our bodies and maybe rest for at least the first 2 days. And I never knew that you need to adjust your exercise, specifically the intensity, to suit these hormonal phases, because if you don't, you can set yourself up for hormonal imbalances, a lot of stress on the body, bad periods, bad PMS, a lot of stress. So this physical stress, and it's putting the body under a lot of kind of overall stress. And so first of all, I would say either educate yourself, so then you know how to ask your coach for a perfectly designed monthly plan. Most coaches will give you 6 to 12 week exercise plan, right? And that's okay, but it needs to have some kind of allowance for the monthly, kind of ebb and flow. So that'll be the first thing. And then find someone who is kind of understanding and empathetic and can personalize an exercise routine, because the notion that we all have the same 24 hours in the day, that's actually not true. Ask any mum and ask her, like, is the 24 hours really truly yours? Or do you feel like you can maybe squeeze in an hour tops for you, and the rest of it is children, family, work, and everything else? So, it needs to, that's the first thing I ask my clients, like, realistically, how long can you exercise and how often? Like, realistically. And not the best case scenario and not the worst case scenario, somewhere in the middle, Because, I don't exercise for more than 20 minutes a day. I really don't have, sometimes I get half an hour, but most of the time it's 20 minutes. So it needs to be something that is like really efficient, really potent, straight to the point, straight to the goals, done and dusted, and you can go and live your life.
That's a beautiful approach. And I didn't know up until recently how to adjust my trainings towards my cycle, and to actually consider where I am and how I feel. And I 100% agree. Like, I also feel I'm getting older, if you know what I mean. So even the way you say it, like to start to think about it right now, really resonates with me. Yeah.
And it's about kind of choosing the exercise style that is going to help you towards the goals of, being a strong, powerful woman when you are 60, 70. So, I get a lot of people from like CrossFit, and they're broken. They are so broken. So if your chosen exercise is breaking your body and injuring you on a regular basis, there might not be the right approach for longevity. And usually women in their kind of mid to late 40s come to me because they realize that they need to transition from the way they used to train, and they used to get away with it in their 20s and 30s, to something that is more aligned with the kind of the future, themselves in their 40s, 50s, 60s and beyond. So it's more focused on mobility and strength and quality of movement and balance, which are the things that kind of usually catch us out when we're older, rather than just kind of exercising for performance and output and reps and sets. To me, like, I couldn't care less how many reps I do or how heavy mace I swing. All I want is just to be able to exercise every day and then slowly and consistently move towards, the goal that I have, which is to be a tragically old, wrinkly, shriveled up grandma still surfing while her grandkids are going, "Yay, grandma!"
Oh,
Yeah,
that's so cool.
that's the vision. That's the vision. Or like them surfing with me, and me like, oh, I'm gonna look like leather,
Yeah,
because
that's
I'm just
so.
gonna spend. I'm gonna spend my whole life just, in the ocean in the harsh New Zealand sun, and that's okay.
Yeah, that's you. I'm sure you're gonna look beautiful. But what you mentioned, I feel it also comes with the body awareness. So I think that's something that yoga gave me as well. And I used to be the person, who compare myself. I mean, back in the days at the yoga session, I would just squeeze myself sometimes just to go for it because someone else did it, or obviously I need to go to the advanced option. And I realized a few years ago, I'm like, wow, like if I don't feel it, I'm like, okay, I don't need to do it. My body says no. So then pushing myself to prevent the injury. And I think it's in every then exercise, like in Pilates, in mobility. So just to listen to your body. And that's something that comes with perhaps experience or the injury sometimes. And then,
Yeah, I think so. It's experience. I think it's wisdom a little bit as well. And, being through some injuries to kind of learn the lesson in a more harsh ways. But I think it's, you're right. Like, we need to learn how to intuitively listen to our body and take the ego out of it. But I think that if you consistently exercise all the time and you've got the consistency on your side, then you don't have to perform. If you kind of like exercise for 3 months of the year and then you fall off the wagon in winter and then you start again in springtime to get your beach body, then that just encourages this kind of ego exercising for performance, right? But if you just beaver away and potter at it most days, then I don't think that you need to be focused so much on the actual performance, because you know that you are, it's like the hare and the tortoise, right? Who wins the race in the long run? It's the tortoise, because she's just like going slow and steady and just step by step rather than trying to kind of race. And I think and it's about intelligent exercising as well. Just because some 22-year-old coach told you to do 100 burpees, should you really be doing it? Like, it's kind of like people sometimes, I think, give away their power to the coaches in classes to tell them what to do, but they don't really think about the impact on their bodies. And especially with women, I mean, I coach a lot of women in perimenopause, and sometimes it's just really bloody hard to get out of bed, let alone go and exercise. So it's about just forgetting what everybody else is doing and just doing your own thing, and just to celebrate the fact that you showed up. And even if you just do half of it or just do 5 minutes of mobility in the corner of your bedroom, it's better than nothing.
I think consistency is the word that we're looking for here. And I'm guilty. Like, I had a break 2 months ago, and like now coming back to my routine, it's painful. And I'm like, why would I do that? It's like, and then the motivation, like, I know I want it because like my whole body is in pain even. And I'm like, I just need to move. I just need to do those exercises. But like, it's so easy to just like, if you go traveling or doing something out of your routine, to just kind of let it go and then coming back. Do you have any tips on that? And perhaps I really like the idea of 20 minutes. That's small steps kind of to get back into it.
Yeah. It's hard to stop and then start again, but then life happens too. Like at the beginning of the year, I got really hit with perimenopause and I couldn't exercise. And you can imagine what that feels like for a fitness coach who's telling everybody else to exercise, and I couldn't. So I still did mobility most days, and I still kind of surfed a little bit, but I just couldn't do any of my normal workouts, and it was hard. It was really hard. So being able to get back into it kind of slowly and gently has been fantastic. But, life happens. People have injuries. People are struck by, illness, or their loved ones, get struck by illness, or you travel, break the routine, and then it's hard to get back. Yeah, I totally get that. It's hard.
But you gotta do it, sooner or later.
You have to do it. Yeah.
But I would love to come back, if we could, to the beginnings of your business, because that's, for me, it's an amazing story that came out of your own interest, benefits, and then you even went overseas to the US to get certification. That's a huge dedication. So how do you feel like when you were like, okay, that's what I want to do? What helped you through this process from the idea to actually making this your career, your business?
So I started working face-to-face here in gyms. That's how I began first, just getting clients. My first lot of clients were just my friends, right? Because they were like, yay, someone who understands me, a woman, friendly face in a gym. So I started with face-to-face, but when COVID hit, I was actually briefly working in the corporate world. I had a bit of a break just through my divorce. It was a really tough time of my life. And then COVID happened. And during COVID, I thought, I'm not going back to corporate. That is not me. I did like 18 months. It was the most miserable I had probably ever been. And then I decided I'm going to go back to coaching. And I'm going to launch my online business as well, because the face-to-face is quite easy, but I didn't really enjoy working out of gyms because it's not a really good financial model. You're paying enormous amount of rent to the gym, and then the gym is charging the clients. I mean, that's how it's set up in New Zealand. The gym is charging clients membership, and then you're charging the individual clients. It's just not really that great. There's loud music, there is mirrors. A lot of women don't like looking at themselves in the mirror. And I kind of felt like I could not like really set my own culture and expectations in a place that was so busy. So then I got a little cabin put on my front yard, and I thought, I'm going to start seeing people in there privately, because what I found throughout COVID, there was a lot of people who didn't want to get vaccinated, which I really respect their personal choice, but they were completely excluded from fitness, right? They couldn't go to yoga classes. They couldn't go to gyms. Like, they could go nowhere. But because I had a little private studio where clients basically just came and went, and there was never any crossover, I was able to take people that were not vaccinated, and they were so grateful because there was a space for them to exercise safely. And I made that very clear to all of my clients, the vaccinated and vaccinated one, that that's what I was doing, and that was my right because it was my business. So then I realized that people just love exercise in privacy, without music, without anybody watching them. And I found that it really deepened my relationship with my clients because they could share more, they could be more relaxed, more open. So it was really beautiful. And then I launched my online business as well, because I thought, I can't just be trading time for money all the time. That's not a very profitable and sustainable way to work. So I launched my online business, just after the second lot of lockdowns at the end of COVID. And it's been great. So I do both now, which is a wonderful balance. I have clients all over the world in my online programs. And then I still have a whole bunch of face-to-face clients here in Wellington, which is just a really nice balance. I love it.
Yeah, that's a beautiful mix of both worlds. But then, throughout this journey, what were the biggest challenges you feel like? Was it the COVID time, or perhaps something else that you can think of?
The COVID time was actually, for my industry, quite good, because I think people really realized what their health meant to them. I think people, like, before COVID, the goals that people were coming to me with was usually weight loss and kind of other more superficial goals. But I noticed that COVID really shifted people into more long-term health and longevity and aging without pain. So I love that. I love that switch in people. And also people are working from home a lot more, which means that they can come to me during the day. So I think it has made my business a little bit easier. The main challenges in my business probably has been, especially the online business, it's realizing that my strength is not in marketing and messaging and sales. My strength is in coaching people and getting them fit and strong. So it was kind of very confronting to realize that to make the business successful and financially viable, I had to upskill massively. And I always work with a mentor most of the time. Just upskilling and, binging on podcasts and reading books and watching people's content and trying to soak up as much as I can. But there's a lot to running a business. It's exhausting. It's, some people just see, oh, you get to surf at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday morning. You're so lucky. But they don't see me working all weekend,
Or 8-9 p.m. at night.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and starting early in the mornings. And, I've got some clients in the UK. That's early mornings, late nights for me here in New Zealand. So it's long hours. I kind of sometimes feel that we traded the 40-hour week for like a 90-hour week.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but it's on my, and it takes time to build a business, right? Like at some point, maybe we will be sitting in Bali, on a beach and just working 3 hours a day. But at the moment, it's the slog part. Yeah. And that's okay.
That's the vision. But I really like what you say about the mentor. Like, I believe in that too. And I do invest a lot in my own mentorship as well, because I feel like, why would I feel like I need to do it on my own if someone is already there and I can learn from someone? So how come did you just started to seek for those advices? Because it's not so common when you start and you then heavily invest. Usually women in business try to do everything on their own at the very beginning.
Yeah, so I realized that what was really my biggest issue when I started, and it's the online business, because the face-to-face business just ticks along because it's usually word of mouth. And, I had a sales call with someone today from Wellington, and she said, 2 different people recommended you. So I think that I've been at it for so many years that Wellington is a small place, it's 500,000 people and they talk. It's a village, really. So the face-to-face business is fun, but I realized that what I couldn't really do online was I really needed help with my messaging, because I was talking about fitness program, but I'm not actually selling a fitness program. What I'm selling women in their 40s and 50s is the ability to play with their grandchildren, the ability to live a pain-free life, the ability to live in their own home till the day they die, rather than moving into retirement home. I'm giving them the ability to do the sport they love for as long as they want without injuries. And I didn't know how to articulate the incredible transformations I was giving women. So I hired a sales and messaging coach with whom I worked for a whole year, really intensely, just to know how to tell people what I can do for them and sell them the vision and the emotional triggers, rather than, I'm going to give you a 12-week program. You're going to, it's not that. It's the what's behind it. People don't buy a 12-week program. People buy a beach body. People buy, the ability to surf better, or, like people never buy the thing that the benefits and the things that you include, the coaching course and stuff. They just want to know that you will get them the result, the behind, the emotional need and goal and want they have. And so that was my biggest issue that I encountered was being able to communicate that and cut through the noise in my industry. My industry is massive, right? It's really saturated, and everybody's got an opinion and everybody is saying something else. And so I just I needed to be able to cut through the noise and tell people how I'm different and why they should work with me, rather than with the thousands and thousands of other fitness coaches that are out there.
Yeah, and especially that you were doing it, so you already knew the transformation that you're providing. Do you have any, like, your favorite story of your client that was like just amazing to work with and such a transformation that you spotted?
what gives me the biggest, so I usually tend to attract a reasonably active women or like semi-professional athletes who hit their 40s and 50s and then get really kind of hammered by injuries or perimenopause and can't do the sport they want. So one of the biggest joys in my career is to help women and some men, I coach men here in Wellington too, to be able to return to do their favorite sport, even though they thought they never could ever again. So I had a client, a runner, semi-professional runner, used to run 140 kilometers every week. Wow. Her coach didn't believe in stretching and mobility. And she had chronic injuries in her hamstrings, Achilles tendons, feet, to the point that she couldn't even walk, let alone run. And, you know, in 3 months, she went through my mobility program. At the end of 3 months, she was running, but she realized that she can't really no longer run 140 kilometers and that she really doesn't want to anymore. So she's just going for nice, fun runs. And she had enough confidence to start learning to sail and surf at 50.
No way.
Yeah. And she said that when she was doing her sailing course with her husband, she said that she was moving around the boat because you have to duck under, right? Under the sail so you don't get hit by it. And she said she was moving better than people half her age.
Wow.
And she was, when we finished working, she sent me a message and she said, I've booked a surf lesson and I'm learning how to surf at 50. So from like not being able to get out of bed and being in so much pain to a few months later learning how to sail and surf and knowing that you're moving better than people half your age. It's phenomenal.
It's fantastic because mobility is a huge part of surfing, isn't it? Like, you gotta do that. You are a surfer yourself. I mean, for me, this is again like I'm like, oh my god, like how come you can do that? Like I'm in my 30s and I'm still like coming back in and out all the time. But
so I learned to surf when I was 40, Hannah.
No.
I started when I was 40. Yeah. So, I told you, I grew up in the Czech Republic, right? Which is a country in the middle of Europe that has no ocean. The nearest ocean is like 9 hours away. And I don't know why. I even went to the ocean side. Like, I think I was like 12 for the first time. And I always was thinking about surfing. I don't even know why. It was always on my bucket list. And then I moved to New Zealand, but I was busy having kids and stuff. And then I turned 40 and I thought, right, this is it. If I don't start now, I'm just going to get too old and it's going to be harder and harder and harder. So I started surfing when I was 40. It was only 7 years ago. Yeah. So it's never too late if you've got the strength and the mobility. But mobility is crucial for everything, not just for sports. It's, if you want to be able to tie your shoelaces or put your bra on or, just get in and out of car easily. That's all mobility, really. I think that's one of the most important things and one of the most overlooked exercise styles. And mobility is essentially strength training for your joint and for your joints. And that's what a lot of people focus on, the muscles, but they forget the joints in the process. And then that just leads to injuries and poor movement.
So how to start doing mobility trainings? Can you do it, on your own at home, or would you recommend a personal trainer?
So mobility is incredibly gentle and you really kind of can't hurt yourself if you're being sensible and not stretching your body and going to ranges where you feel discomfort or pain. But it is literally just so gentle. Even like I have people with post-surgeries and, with massive injuries, people that are, my oldest client to date is a couple, 82 and 84. And they do strength training with me, and they do mobility. So mobility is very gentle. It's something that doesn't take a lot of time. It's something that you can do literally in your pajamas in the corner of your bedroom every morning or every evening. Mobility is about consistency. Mobility is not about doing some lengthy sessions. Mobility is about doing it for 5 to 10 minutes every single day. And I often tell people mobility is like saving for retirement. You put a little deposits all the time, and then you can withdraw massively in 10, 20, 30 years. So it's about just doing a little bit at the time. So easy. You can jump on my YouTube channel. You can jump into my free challenges and start doing mobility, everybody feels so good because we're just getting stiffer and tighter, even like really young people. I mean, I've had actually sadly quite a lot of teenagers in my practice here in Wellington this year that came to me with bad posture and, because they just spend too much time sitting down on devices, right? Or sitting down at schools too. So I think we're a society and a human race are becoming just quite locked up and stiff and tight, and we don't move particularly well. I sometimes just sit around and watch people, and you don't see many people around that move well, people kind of stiff and are not even old people. So I think mobility is one of the most overlooked yet the most potent form of exercise that you can do, that is just so simple. And, everybody can find 5-10 minutes in their day. It is so easy to squeeze in.
Yeah, I'm gonna link your social media here. So with the free challenge as well. So if anyone wants to try, feel free. I'm gonna try. I know you just finished, right? Your 30-day challenge.
Yeah, so I ran a 30-day mobility challenge in the whole month of October. Yeah, and I had like 384 people in it, which for me is a huge amount because I have very small audience. But massive transformations for people, massive. Like I've been getting messages most days about, oh my gosh, there was a woman actually who told me, who sent me a message 10 days into the challenge, 10 days, and said I had such horrible issues with my Achilles tendons and my heels that stopped me from walking my dog on the trails, which is something I loved. And she said she fixed it within 10 days in the challenge. And now she's back on the trails every day walking her dog. 10 days.
Wow. That's a huge transformation as well.
In 10 days. Even kind of surprised. I know that people get really cool, transformation quite quickly, but that even surprised me.
You really do change people's lives.
Yeah. And that's why my work doesn't feel like work. I always was clearly destined to do this because it brings me so much joy and satisfaction to get people out of pain and to get them to live the life they really truly want and have adventures with their children and pets, and travel and just to have the confidence to learn something you've always wanted to at 50. It's phenomenal because life is not over at 50. It's not over at 60, 70 or 80. I mean, I surfed with a 75-year-old on his birthday the other day.
This, for me, it's so inspiring because I'm 33 and I live next to the ocean. Some friends told me off because I used to learn how to surf. And since I came here, I'm like, yeah, I will, and I will not, so it's on and off. And I just been once. And I'm like, oh, I'm too old, it's not the same, blah, blah, blah. And then hearing your story and your client story, I'm like, oh my God, no, it's not too late. No. I can do that. Yeah.
You're so young. 33 is nothing. Yeah. I often go on holidays to Taranaki, which is about 4 hours away from where I live. And it's like a real surf region. And one year I went alone in my camper van and I was just asking some locals how to surf because there's a lot of rocks in the water and you kind of need to know where you go. And these 3 guys kind of took me under their wing. One was 67, one was 70, and one was 72. They surfed twice a day. They surfed all their lives. They grew up in there and they lived there all their lives. But they still surf twice a day in their 70s.
That's amazing.
But they have such zest for life, right? Because I think to be able to do that and be in water, be in nature and be uncomfortable and a bit cold and in the wind, and it's a real community too. So I think that, don't think that anybody's too old for anything. It's, even if you just start surfing in your 60s and you still have 10, 20 years to go, it's a lot of time.
It is. Just remember about the mobility, right?
Remember the mobility, yeah. Probably a little bit of strength work as well, because, you need to be strong for, if you want to pick up your own groceries and, just clean your home and do some gardening. You still need a little bit of strength, but mobility is really the most important, to preserve our movement and to do things with ease without limitations.
Wow. Really so inspiring. On my list, like I'm like, it's not too late. But even, you know, it gives me, yeah, it gives like amazing perspective to me, and also about like anything that I want to try in my life. I'm like, yeah, I don't, because sometimes I feel like, oh, you know, I'm getting older and all that. And now I feel like, yeah, but I can do some stuff in my 40s, my 50s, or whatever. It doesn't need to be now. Everything, that's not the right time.
Speaking of aging, we actually touched upon on that a little bit. So when is the best time to start thinking about perimenopause, menopause, and everything that is going to happen with my body as a woman?
Yeah. So the main thing is to know that it's coming, right? Like it's coming for every woman. Like every woman is going to go through menopause, or 99.9% of women will go through menopause, some surgically overnight and some gradually, naturally. And a lot of women experience perimenopausal symptoms in their early 40s, sometimes even late 30s. So it can come really early. So I think education and awareness is probably the most important thing. And as much as we don't like to think about that time, it's kind of good to start setting yourself up a little bit, beforehand, like have an exercise routine, even if it's just walking 3 times a week or, doing a little bit of mobility. It's good to be aware and start picking up on the symptoms when they start happening rather than waiting till things get really, really bad. That's often when I see women, when they're in chronic pain, they've put on a lot of weight, they're having very low energy, brain fog, and, there's like a laundry list of symptoms that women experience. So knowing what's coming and educating. And there's just so many now really amazing doctors and scientists who are very vocal about menopause and how women have been let down in the past and how we really need to change the care for women in this transitional part of their lives, because women are suffering out there a lot. Has been a lot of bad information in keeping women from safe, effective medication to help them out. And so I think information and education and awareness, it's the most important. And luckily, the tide is changing now. And, there's doctors now with, a few million followers on Instagram just talking very frankly and openly about menopause and what's coming and the physiological changes and risks that come with the declining hormones, which, we kind of still think that menopause is about some hot flushes and maybe a bit of weight gain. But there is so much more. There is brain decline. There is heart disease. There is cancers. There is just, estrogen has effect on the entire body of a woman, every single organ, bones, muscles, eyesight, like just everything. And that is just finally getting researched. There is a really incredible scientist called Dr. Lisa Moscone who has been studying female brains. And now she's really specialized in the female menopausal brain. And she talks a lot about how to prevent, Alzheimer's and dementia, which is so common in women. And you can do that by exercise. Exercise is just so potent in preventing most of the most common diseases like cancer, heart disease, Alzheimer's, dementia. So just knowing all of this and knowing the risks for women and knowing how to prevent it with lifestyle changes, which are so powerful. We sometimes think like, oh, I've got bad genetics. My mum had dementia and my grandma had dementia. That doesn't mean that you have to get dementia as well. And lifestyle is huge, getting enough sleep, exercising, eating well, doing mindful practices and, doing a job that you enjoy, surrounding yourself with nice people and having meaningful relationships all of these things are so powerful. You don't have to just, oh, well, I've got bad genes and that's just it. It's not. Yeah. And exercise, it's really powerful.
Wow, I didn't even think of all of those diseases and parts. And oh my God, I feel like it's a new area that sooner or later, or I feel like sooner, I should really immerse myself into. But then when it comes to exercises, so you mentioned 5 minutes, 10 minutes there a day, that will be enough.
Yeah. So really for women in midlife, women need to think about 3 different things. So first of all, they need to think about obviously mobility, which is the health of the joints and the quality of movement and your ability to live a healthy and long life. Or, you can do some other movement based, Tai Chi or, yoga like for you. Then there is strength training, which is really powerful. So women have been traditionally keeping out of the weights room and out of strength training because they don't want to get bulky or they don't want to hang out with the gym bros and, stuff like that. Well, you can't get bulky because you just can't. It's really difficult to put on muscle and women don't have enough testosterone for that. But now we're realizing that really the most potent exercise to help you through menopause and help you to maintain good body composition, so good muscle to body fat ratio, because most women in menopause, the number one complaint is weight gain, uncontrollable weight gain. So strength training is very powerful for that, to keep the fat out of bay, at some, acceptable level and build lean muscle mass, which we start losing in our 30s. So you need to do some kind of strength training. It doesn't have to be weights, but it needs to be something that is going to stress your muscles and bones, because bones is another thing that you can cultivate with strength training, because women get osteoporosis, brittle bones, and they have a lot of fractures kind of in menopause and post-menopause. So that's something to think about. Lean muscle mass and strong bones, and those strength training is the best thing. So whether you're just going to do some push-ups and squats at home, whether you're going to actually go to the gym or do some classes, do Pilates, do something that is going to stress the bones and the muscles and create overall strength and fitness. And then the third type of exercise you need to pay attention to is some kind of cardiovascular exercise, obviously for healthy heart. Heart disease is the number one killer of women in the world. So that's what most women die of. It's heart disease. And that can be prevented by just keeping the heart healthy. You don't have to start running. You can just, if you do even like strength training with lighter weights a little bit faster, that's cardio, or some kind of like interval training, or you can just do a bit of running or like a brisk walk, something that is just going to get your heart rate up, get you a little bit sweaty 2-3 times a week. And then that will keep your heart, fit. So these are the 3 main things really women should think about. The mobility, Tai Chi, and those type of movements are also very good for like stress reduction too, because women are very stressed. We have a lot on our plates. And that's a really nice type of movement to just keep us a little bit more away from stress, which is awful for us.
Yeah, always thinking about everyone and everything. Would you consider surfing as a cardio, or where would you?
Yeah, cardio is surfing is a little bit of everything, really, because there's so many components, right? So when you're pedaling, there's definitely strength and endurance and cardio. Yeah, it definitely gets your heart rate up. And then when you're riding a wave, that's just, So there's a really nice, sports like that are a great combination of all, but you kind of need to do a little bit of training to be able to surf, to be able to swim, to be able to run, to be able to do whatever sport, golf, whatever sport you do, you should just do a little bit of complementary training for that with strength and a little bit of cardio too. Yeah. But surfing's got it all. It's got agility, flow, and
even like a meditation kind of part as well, when you're waiting for the wave or being out there.
That's actually probably 80% of the time.
Yeah, you're just like
kind of just sitting there chatting to people or just taking it all in. And that's why I love surfing. I love surfing for the mental health component more than anything. Just being in nature and being in the ocean and feeling the energy of the ocean. And I think that's a very feminine, we love being out there because ocean is very feminine, right? It's kind of sometimes it's flat and sometimes it's really full on and wavy and stormy. So I think I kind of relate to, being in the ocean. I kind of perceive it as being very feminine. So that's, for me, it's just beautiful to be immersed in it. And it's uncomfortable. And I think, we as a human race are getting really comfortable. So I love it to be in the wind and cold and, you get hit by waves and you wipe out, and it's just a little bit of grit and resilience. And I like the thought at the back of your mind that you can actually, there's a small chance that you can die out there too.
Really? And for me, that was terrifying, coming here and there's sharks in the water. I was like, oh my God.
Sharks. You guys have sharks.
I'm not going out there. That was a big thing to me. Like, that's why I was like, I'm not doing it here. There are sharks but well, my beach is safe, so.
Yeah. I had an encounter with a shark and I'm still here. Look, it's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they say. But it seems like you're very active and then you're doing lots of things. But do you ever lack motivation for training, for activities, and what do you do then?
Absolutely, all the time, and I'll be the first one to admit it. Yeah, motivation is a bit of a myth. Motivation is a feeling; it comes and goes. If I only exercised when I'm motivated, I'll probably exercise 3 times a month. Yeah. I'm not motivated like all the time. No one is. And if they say they are, they're lying. It's a feeling. Yeah. You need to think about commitment. And often what I think about is what would happen if I didn't exercise long term. I'll be injured. I'll be weak. I won't look good. I won't feel confident. I will end up in a retirement home, someone else doing things for me. And so if I even think about that, or I won't be able to surf anymore. If I don't exercise for a year or 2, I probably won't be able to surf anymore. Or I won't be able to surf with ease and actually enjoy it. I'll be dying every time I try to paddle somewhere because I just won't have the strength. So for me, it's connecting those dots and thinking about what my life would be like if I didn't do that. So it's just about doing it, even if you don't want to, which is hard. Yeah.
And would you apply this also to your business if you feel like, oh my God, nothing makes sense, I just want to close it?
Yeah. A lot of the time. Yeah. And I think that's probably something that I don't know if you relate to as an entrepreneur too. It's that kind of the burnout, right? I mean, I've just done a 30-day challenge where I had to be on and answering messages and be all over the social media and doing training and Q&As and and then obviously now I'm going into a launch phase and I'm just like, I can see the wall approaching fast. I'm going to hit a wall really soon. So it's that, sometimes you have to show up and do the hard thing, but I think that you also have to take care and, do some self-care. And I'm fully planning to switch off this weekend and recharge for a couple of days and get off social media so then I can show up again next week. So yeah, no, I do. Yeah, I don't feel like it sometimes. I don't feel like showing up and yeah, but I think that's what probably makes me relatable, that I talk about it. I talk about when I don't feel like exercising. I talk about when I get hit by perimenopause and I don't have any energy and I feel just like lying on the couch and eating ice cream and binging on Netflix. Yeah, because most women experience that. I don't want to be some kind of, she's exercising all the time and she's always motivated and she's just doing all these things. That's not the truth at all. So I think I want to build an authentic brand where I show the successes, the surf trips, with the times where I struggle to get out of bed as well. And it's hard for me just as it's for anybody else. I'm not different in any way. Yeah, I'm a solo mom, 3 teenagers, and who's trying to run 2 businesses. So the struggle is real. But, if I can exercise most days, then probably most people can if they are able with their bodies. Because if I can do it, then so can anybody else.
Yeah, you understand your audience. You are them. So
yeah, I am my audience. Yeah. I'm absolutely my own audience. Yeah, and so I want to talk, about the struggles as much about the kind of the vision and the end goal and how we just all, crawling and towards it. Sometimes we skip and run, and sometimes we literally crawl to it. So, yeah.
Just gotta accept those. Episodes, I feel like sometimes, yeah.
It's life, isn't it? I've had children, my daughter had some terrible mental health challenges last year for quite a few months, so sometimes you have to prioritize other people and, your children or your loved ones. And, sometimes the exercise just does take a back seat because life is life, but you just got to get back on that horse when you can and slowly come back to it. But I think that often when you exercise consistently for long periods of time, like I have, probably consistently for the last 10 years, you can kind of easily weather the times when you don't, because you've done so much work up to that point. So, when my daughter wasn't well, I could take 3-4 months off pretty much from exercise and then almost like slip straight back into it because you've done the work, rather than, people that kind of exercise for a while and then they don't, and they go back to it and then they don't again, and they go back to it and they don't. They don't have that kind of foundation all built up. So I think that when you really commit and exercise, even for just 10-15 minutes every day, then if you stop for a little while because of life, you can just easily go back to it and be okay.
So you build that muscle memories and all.
Yeah, the muscle memory and the habit, right? And the habit, I think, and the dedication and the commitment. Yeah, because I kind of think that, yes, exercise is hard, but living in retirement, in assisted care living is a lot harder. It's hard to get up early and go for a walk or do some, strength work, but it's going to be a lot harder if I have to ask everyone to bring the groceries into my home and I can't get in and out of a car easily anymore. And I'm sitting on the couch while my grandkids are playing and I can't take them for a walk because I can't move. That's hard. I had a client who was 60 years old and she was so weak, she couldn't pick up her granddaughter who was 8 months old. At the age of 60, she did not have enough strength to pick up a baby out of a cot. And that's hard. That's heartbreaking. Yeah. So that is a story that I talk about a lot, because the moment in woman's life that is something that we all wait for a long time. The joy of having a grandchild and you can't pick them up for a cuddle. Yeah, I'm getting kind of like a little bit emotional about that, because that's not where I want to find myself. So I'm going to do the hard now so then I can have it easy later, rather than having the easy ride now and then having the hard later on.
Wow, I really love your approach, and I feel like you opened so many doors in my mind today. Like, I'm like, oh my God, the time is now as well. I mean, I feel like I've been pretty all right with exercising, especially since coming to Australia, because the lifestyle here, it's very, I would say it's so much easier to exercise because everyone does it and everyone, it's just the lifestyle. And watching selfies, whichever age they are, it's always inspiring for me. It's always, I love when I see like the dad or granddad with a kid, I'm always like, oh my God, my heart is melting. It's something that we didn't grow up with in Europe.
No.
So it's something like we perhaps, spotted somewhere in a movie. But for me, it's always like so inspiring to see and to kind of discover this kind of lifestyle as well. And I feel like we could go on and on because there's so many questions I could ask, but we committed to some time. So I would love to wrap up with the 3 questions. And the first one, because it's What's Your Spark podcast. So I would love to know what sparks your own creativity in your life.
Definitely time in nature. Yeah, when I'm stuck, I just go for a walk, or I sit in my garden, or, I go for a surf. So yeah, definitely time in nature, taking myself out of, indoor spaces into nature, however, windy, rainy or stormy it is. Yeah. So definitely time in nature. I have a camper van and I often go somewhere in the middle of nowhere and just park it up and no people, just ocean. And, I can just cook on a camping stove, and that's where I recharge the most.
So then you live in a perfect place for that. I mean, I love your background, by the way. I know I mentioned that before we
Yeah,
hit recording on, but only in New Zealand, the backgrounds like that. It's just yeah, it's
yeah.
just
It's a
outstanding.
beautiful country.
Mm. And what has inspired you recently? Do you have any books, podcasts, movies, perhaps to recommend to our audience?
I listened to an amazing podcast actually on, I don't know if you follow Dr. Huberman,
Yeah.
Huberman Lab. Yeah, yeah. So he's amazing, but he had Dr. Sims on it. So Dr. Stacey Sims is a exercise physiologist that specializes in very active women in midlife. And she's actually an American, comes from a very athletic background. I think she was a triathlete. And now she actually she lives in New Zealand, and she does research at the university down south in the South Island. And she is just phenomenal, the research she does, how she recommends, women exercise for, again, longevity and health benefits, nutrition, lifestyle changes, supplements. So yeah, she's inspiring. I think I listened to their podcast. It's like a 2.5-hour podcast. I think I've listened to it like 3-4 times. She's phenomenal, and she inspires me because she is definitely, I think, older than me, and she is jacked. She is like a picture of health, and she travels a lot and does talks and research. And yeah, so that's, to see women like that who dedicate their careers and lives to helping women is phenomenal.
Oh, wow, I need to check this one out, definitely. And last but definitely not least, one piece of advice you would like to give to someone who is searching for their spark in their life?
I think find work that you enjoy doing. Yeah, I feel incredibly fortunate that I have found something that doesn't feel like work. And I know not everybody has that luxury, but I think I meet too many people who say, I hate my job. I absolutely hate my job. And I know that it's, if you've got a mortgage and kids, it's kind of hard to leave the job that pays the bills and stuff. But I think that be brave, find the strength to, even if it's a side hustle, find something that is meaningful. I think that a lot of people are losing purpose, and, they don't live a meaningful life with helping others or, making change in the world. So yeah, try to find something that brings you joy in your day. And yeah, even if it's just something you do at the, in the very little time you have free, yeah, find something that fills you up and sparks you up and lights you up.
And right back at you, or actually I feel like you already found it, so I just wish you all of those beautiful moments and joys and lots of beautiful waves wherever you're gonna go to surf, perhaps in Europe as well one day, who knows, maybe we're gonna meet up on a surf spot. That would be great, actually.
I know.
Yeah.
You never know, Hannah. You never know.
Yeah, the world is your oyster. Jana, if you could also say where people can find you, just your social media, website.
So I'm on all the main socials. I have a website, janabarrett.com, where you can find lots of resources and see what I'm about. I am on Facebook. I have a Facebook group as well where I do training, and it's a very safe container for women to, openly talk about anything they want. And I do training in there once a week. And then I'm on Instagram as well.
Perfect. So jump on those. They are in the description.
Thank you so much, Hannah. It was so lovely to be here with you. What a great conversation. I loved it.
Thank you. It was very inspiring, and for sure I'm going to apply a few of your tips into my life. So we'll let you know how it goes.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much for your time, and have a lovely me time weekend. As you mentioned, that's the plan for the weekend. So hope you can switch off.
Thank you for having me, Hannah.
And that's all for today's episode of What's Your Spark. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on the platform you are listening to. And be sure to stay in touch with me. My Instagram handle is @honorata.janas, or if you're gonna search Hono Janas, you're gonna find me there as well. Oh, and one more thing. If you know someone who would love this episode, please don't be shy and just share it with them. Until next time!